The banshee, a figure deeply rooted in Irish folklore, stands as one of the most enigmatic and enduring symbols of Irish mythological tradition. Known for her mournful wail and spectral presence, the banshee is often depicted as a harbinger of death, a being whose eerie cries foretell the demise of someone within the family she visits. Despite her ominous associations, the banshee is also a complex figure, representing the intertwining of life, death, and the supernatural in Irish culture. This video explores the origins, characteristics, cultural significance, modern interpretations, and a personal family experience with the banshee, shedding light on how this mythological entity has endured and evolved over centuries. The concept of the banshee, or ban-shee in Irish, meaning woman of the fairy mound or fairy woman, finds its roots in ancient Celtic beliefs and the early Irish tradition of keening. Keening was a form of vocal lamentation performed by women at funerals, believed to ease the passage of the deceased into the afterlife. The role of the banshee as a supernatural keener can be seen as an extension of this practice, where the banshee's cries serve as a premonition rather than a response to death. The banshee's origins are intertwined with the Tuatha De Danann, a mythological race of gods and supernatural beings who were believed to inhabit the otherworldly mounds scattered across the Irish landscape. As Christianity spread through Ireland, the Tuatha De Danann were often reinterpreted as fairies, and the banshee became one of these ethereal beings. Over time, she emerged as a distinct figure, evolving from a deity associated with the land and its people to a more specific symbol of death and mourning. The banshee is typically described as a female spirit, her appearance varying according to different accounts and regions. Common depictions include a withered old hag. In many stories, the banshee appears as an elderly woman, her hair gray or white, her face wrinkled, and her eyes red from weeping. This form emphasizes the connection to death and the passage of time, as well as the sorrow that accompanies the end of life. Some tales describe the banshee as a young woman with long flowing hair, dressed in a white or gray gown. This version often symbolizes the purity of the soul or the innocence lost in death. Some people have also said the banshee can appear as a shrouded figure. The banshee may also be depicted as a figure cloaked in a gray or white shroud, with her face either veiled or partially obscured. This portrayal highlights her mysterious nature and the ambiguity surrounding death. In some regions, particularly in the south of Ireland, the banshee is described with more fantastical features, such as the ability to change shape or transform into a crow, or other animals associated with death. The banshee's most distinctive characteristic, however, is her mournful cry. This keening wail is said to be heard in the dead of night, often near the home of the person destined to die. The sound is described as unnaturally piercing and filled with sorrow, a haunting melody that sends chills down the spine of those who hear it. According to legend, only certain families, particularly those of pure Gaelic lineage, are visited by the banshee. These families often include the O'Neills, O'Briens, O'Connors, and other prominent clans. I have been fascinated with the banshee since my mother told me about the experience her cousin had in the early 1970s in Cork, Ireland. It was an ordinary evening in a quiet village nestled in the countryside of County Cork. Two sisters alone in their family's farmhouse were spending the night as they often did, laughing, teasing, and playing harmless pranks on each other. The younger sister, known for her playful spirit, decided to lock her older sister in the kitchen, which was a small, dimly lit room at the back of the house. The kitchen was a cozy space, usually filled with the warmth of a fire and the comforting smell of home-cooked meals. But on this particular night, as the older sister found herself suddenly alone and locked in, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The light from the single bulb, seemed to cast longer shadows, and the silence that followed her sister's footsteps down the hall was unsettling. She called out, expecting the joke to be short-lived, but there was no immediate response. The minutes ticked by, and a sense of unease began to creep in. It was then that she noticed something in the kitchen, something that should not have been there. Turning around, she saw a small, hunched figure, an old woman with long, white hair cascading down her back. But it wasn't just the sight of the woman that froze her in place. It was the sound, a low, sorrowful wail that seemed to fill the room with an overwhelming sense of dread. She seemed to exist in a space between the real and the unreal, an intruder in the familiar surroundings of the kitchen. The older sister stood paralyzed, her heart pounding in her chest as the woman's cries grew louder, more insistent. Before she could react, the door suddenly unlocked and her younger sister burst in, her laughter quickly fading when she saw the look of terror on her sibling's face. The old woman was gone, leaving behind only the lingering echo of her cries and a deep sense of foreboding. The younger sister, seeing nothing amiss, dismissed the encounter as a figment of imagination, a trick of the dim light. But the older sister knew what she had seen and heard. 3 days later, the eerie warning took on a devastating reality. The older sister's boyfriend was driving home late at night when his car veered off the road and crashed. The accident was fatal, and the news of his death sent shockwaves through the family. The connection between the tragic event and the encounter with the banshee was too strong to ignore. For the older sister, the memory of the old woman's wail became a haunting prelude to the loss she would soon suffer. The grief was profound, made even more unsettling by the belief that she had been given a supernatural warning, a glimpse into the mysterious forces that sometimes touch our lives in ways we cannot fully understand. This encounter with the banshee has become part of our family's narrative, a story told with solemnity and reverence. It serves as a reminder of the deep-rooted beliefs in Ireland's cultural heritage, where the supernatural is not merely a topic of legends, but an ever-present possibility. I never spoke to my Annie about that fateful night, as she sadly passed away when I was young, but the story fascinated me since a young age, and even today, I will bring it up whenever the family is together. In the quiet corners of County Cork, where the past feels close and the land holds its secrets, the banshee's cry is a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond our understanding. For our family, it is a story that underscores the fragile line between life and death, and the inexplicable ways in which that line is sometimes crossed. The banshee occupies a unique place in Irish culture, serving as a symbol of the close relationship between the living and the dead. Her presence reflects the belief in the permeability of the boundaries between this world and the next, a common theme in Celtic spirituality. In this context, the banshee can be seen not merely as a harbinger of doom, but as a mediator between the human and the supernatural realms. The banshee's association with women is particularly significant, as it reflects the broader role of women in Irish folklore and society. Women were traditionally seen as guardians of life and death, involved in childbirth, healing, and mourning. The banshee, as a female spirit, embodies these roles, acting as a mourner for the dead and a guide for the dying. Her keening is a powerful expression of grief, a recognition of the inevitability of death, and a call for the proper observance of mourning rituals. In Irish culture, death is not seen as a final end, but as a transition to another state of existence. The banshee's presence serves as a reminder of this transition and the importance of preparing for it. Her wail is not merely a warning of impending death, but a call to acknowledge the deceased's journey to the afterlife. In this sense, the banshee is a comforting figure, reminding the living of their connection to the dead and the continuity of life beyond death. In modern Ireland, the banshee remains a potent symbol, though her role has evolved with changes in society. While the belief in the literal existence of the banshee has waned, she continues to be a powerful metaphor for death and loss. The banshee appears in literature, music, and popular culture, often serving as a symbol of the inevitable and the unknown. Her story is told and retold, adapting to new contexts while retaining its core themes of mortality, mourning, and the supernatural. The banshee's influence extends beyond folklore into literature, film, and music. In Irish literature, she has been a subject of fascination for writers, from W.B. Yeats to contemporary authors. Yeats, in particular, explored the figure of the banshee in his poetry and plays, often linking her to themes of Irish identity and the supernatural. In popular culture, the banshee has appeared in various forms, from horror films to television series. She is often portrayed as a ghostly figure, embodying the fears and anxieties associated with death. However, these modern interpretations sometimes miss the nuanced role of the banshee as a complex figure representing both loss and continuity, the end of life and the persistence of the soul. The banshee remains one of the most enduring figures in Irish mythology, a symbol that has transcended its origins to become a broader metaphor for death, loss, and the supernatural. Her mournful cry, whether understood as a literal warning or a symbolic expression of grief, continues to resonate with those who hear it. The banshee's story is a reminder of the deep connection between the living and the dead, a connection that is central to Irish culture and spirituality. As long as there is a need to understand and express the mysteries of life and death, the banshee will continue to wail, her voice echoing through the ages. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe.